Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Tuesday morning and in today's video we're staying with the Nicola Bulley case. 45-year-old Lancashire mother of two Nicola Bulley has been missing now since the 27th of January. In that time there's been numerous theories put forward by the public who don't agree with Lancashire Constabulary's main working hypothesis that Nicola, for some reason, fell in the river. Some of those theories are verging on the conspiratorial, and it's one of those theories that I want to address this morning, and that is that Nicola was not seen at all, that it wasn't Nicola that witnesses saw, that it wasn't Nicola on the CCTV footage that we've seen that were taken on the morning of her disappearance around 8:26 when Nicola put Willow in the back of the car and drove away from her home for the very last time. She was taking her two daughters to school, which is about a 10-minute drive from their home in Inskip near Preston to the school in St Michael's-on-Wyre. People have speculated that Nicola perhaps was already dead at this point, implicating Nicola's long-term partner and father of her children, Paul Ansell, in her disappearance and probable murder. There's been numerous speculations about Paul being violent, that because he did some acting work in the past, that he's able to put on an act. He appeared on a Channel 5 documentary here in the UK on Friday, and according to some people, that was all an act. People have analysed the 2-minute interview he gave to Sky News and have said he used phrases that are similar to those that Chris Watts made when he made his sermon on the porch on the 14th of August 2018, when he knew full well that he'd murdered his wife Shanann and their unborn baby Nico, and his two daughters, Bella aged 4 and Cece aged 3. It was only a day after this that Chris was arrested after dismally failing a polygraph and cracking under interrogation by Agent Tammy Lee from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and Special Agent Graham Coder from the FBI. They played a blinder and Chris crumbled. He pled guilty and he is now in prison for life with no possibility of parole. I know the Watts case very well. I've got numerous videos on this channel about the Chris Watts case, so go and check them out. I don't see in any way that Paul Ansell's behaviour is like that of Chris Watts. The situations are very different. Paul was cleared by Lancashire Constabulary very, very quickly. But people will still speculate. People will say that his micro-expressions are problematic. They'll say him going on TV looking tidy with his beard trimmed is a red flag. That there was a discrepancy between what he said normally happens in the mornings and what actually happened as witnessed by the CCTV camera. He said that by 10 a.m. Nicola is normally back when it's her turn to take Willow for a walk. If Paul takes the kids to school, then he takes Willow on her walk. If she does, then she takes Willow. And they go down the riverbank. It's a beautiful walk. I was there last week, along the River Wyre, up into what the locals call the upper field, and then back along the river. That's a usual walk for Nicola. And there's pictures on her social media that show her. There's pictures of Willow at what the locals call the secret beach, where I went and had a little wade or a little paddle in the river at that shallow part before the water volume increases at the confluence of the River Wyre and the River Brock. It's strange that Peter Faulding, who is the diver and sonar person who dramatically quit the search for Nicola after he'd done 2 days of searching in the river and concluded she wasn't in the river, at least in the parts where he searched, which wasn't a large proportion of it. But he's now come out in the Daily Express yesterday and said that Nicola doesn't normally walk by the river. Nicola's Strava shows that she's never by the river, which is very strange of someone to say that. It's now been reported that Peter Faulding wants to look for burial sites in the local area. So I don't know how he's going to approach that. Yeah, we'll wait and see. That's an interesting development because, Anyway, we're focusing today on this possibility, this theory, that it wasn't Nicola that people saw. Now, St Michael's is a very small village, and the people who walk their dogs around that riverbank area seem to recognise each other. Paul said to Channel 5 that, if there's a new person out there, people notice that person. It might be a new person who's moved into the village. They're noticed. Nicola is known. Paul is very well known in St Michael's. People know their children. People know that Nicola and Paul's 2 daughters go to the school in St Michael's. They recognise Nicola and they recognise Willow. But that doesn't stop people from speculating that perhaps it was one of her friends who has a broad generic resemblance to Nicola. I can see there's a resemblance, but would the locals be fooled by this friend who also has come under scrutiny of her own as behaving oddly, inserting herself into the case a little bit too much, according to some people? So would the locals who thought it was Nicola actually be seeing someone else? Personally, I don't think so. I think Nicola was too well known, but having said that, I am going to consider this possibility, because people have been in my comment section a lot in the last couple of days saying, was Nicola actually seen? Yes, she was, by several people. Now, I'm going to play you a couple of minutes of the press conference that Lancashire Constabulary did with Superintendent Sally Riley speaking to the media. This was last week, February the 7th. And she gave the latest, what they knew at that time, about the timeline. Now, this is somewhat discrepant with what was said at the beginning of the case. The timings have become much more specific. So after we listen to Superintendent Sally Riley speak, I want to go back to those early articles and see exactly what was being said in the media at that time. I've been looking for the man who heard Willow barking that I talked about yesterday, because that's the story that's going around social media. And I can't find that being reported in the papers, and it certainly hasn't been said by the police. So people commented to me saying that it wasn't the man in the upper field who heard Willow barking and who saw Willow being tied up by the caravan owner at 9:33. It was someone else. Well, who was it? Because it's these discrepancies that bother me. Not that I think that they're all lying, they're all in it together and it's been a big conspiracy and the discrepancies are because they're all lying. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that at all. What I mean is, I like to have the facts, and the facts are the facts. Right? They don't change. However, as a case progresses, more detail is found, and I think that's why we're seeing some discrepancies from the earlier reports to what the police now believe is the timeline. Having said that, when there's rumours and stories on social media that seemingly coming from family friends that are not making it into the mainstream media, I do want to know why. All right, so let's listen to Superintendent Sally Riley, who was speaking to the media on the 7th of February.
We know that Nicola was last seen on the upper field next to the River Wyre here in St Michael's at 9:10. She had taken her spaniel Willow out for a walk, and CCTV that we've looked at shows that Nicola did not leave either the allotment lane exit of that riverside area, nor the Rowan Water Caravan Park, which has been discounted, nor any of the other locked or areas covered by CCTV. As I said Friday, this only leaves the path along Garstang Lane onto the A586, which is not covered by CCTV. But the more of those 700 or so vehicle drivers that we can identify and who can confirm that they have neither dashcam footage or saw anything on that morning will help us to close that very small gap. We can say with confidence, therefore, that we believe Nicola remained in the riverside area. I understand that this is frustrating for those observing the investigation when the river has been searched and Nicola has not been found. That does not mean, however, that Nicola was not in the river at some point due to the tidal flow of the river. For this reason, our search of the river and the riverbanks extends out to the sea, particularly the area from Knott End out towards Morecambe. So we continue to appeal for drivers on that morning, and I will remind people of Nicola's description, the clothing that she was wearing, and her movements on that day. Nicola is a white lady, 5'3", with shoulder-length brown hair. She speaks with an Essex accent. She was last seen wearing a knee-length black gilet jacket and underneath an Engelbert Strauss black long-sleeve jacket to the waist. She was wearing black jeans, long green walking socks tucked into her jeans, and green ankle-length wellies. She has her hair tied in a ponytail and was wearing a pale blue Fitbit. I have a small number of detail extra to the timeline that I provided on Friday that fills in some of the gaps on the morning that Nicola disappeared. They include that at 8:26 a.m, Nicola left her home address with her children, and I know there's been CCTV images from her from her doorbell footage, that have been released that may jog someone's memory. At 8:40, Nicola dropped her children off at school here in St Michael's. At 8:43, she was seen on the river path towards the gate and the bench on the lower field. At 8:47, someone who knows Nicola saw her walking along the lower field with her dog, and the two dogs briefly interacted together. At 8:53, she sent an email to her boss. At 8:59, she sent a message to a friend. At 9:01, she logged onto a Teams call. And at 9:10, we have the last confirmed sighting of Nicola on the upper field walking her dog. We know from telephony work that her phone was located on the bench at 9:20. At 9:30, the Teams call ended, but Nicola's phone stayed logged in. And at 9:33, approximately, her phone and her dog were found by another witness who doesn't know her. I would ask people to dig back into their memory 11 days ago to that morning and to phone us on 101, or if there's a sighting of Nicola, on 999, or I do now have an email address for direct contact into the investigation room for us to receive email. Details of this are published on our website. It is Nicola Bulley, spelled E-Y, investigation, all one word, Nicola Bulley investigation at lancashire.police.uk. Nicola Bulley investigation at lancashire.police.uk.
Okay, so that was Superintendent Sally Riley from Lancashire Constabulary speaking on the afternoon of February the 7th. As I said, I want to go back to some of the earlier reports in the media. I find this interesting. I find this an interesting exercise to do as a case progresses, because obviously some details change as more witnesses come forward. But quotes from people who were there add a little bit of context, a little bit more context than just listening to timings. So this is an article in the Daily Express, and this was published on February the 2nd. Now, from those initial investigations, it was stated in the media that Nicola was last seen here at 9:15, which is the river path, not the upper field, which is here. This is also a little bit misleading because the bench is here, but it was stated that it was 10:15 when the alarm was raised, so about an hour after Nicola last being seen. We now know that allegedly it was the caravan park owner who lives here at the farm that found Willow at 9:33. It concerns me that it took to 10:50, not 10:15, for the alarm to be raised. It concerns me a little that the caravan park owner allegedly tasked a family member with finding out who Willow was and who the phone belonged to. And this is what was stated in that article on February 2nd. Nicola Bulley's worried dog was spotted alone, leading a concerned walker to call the authorities and report the 45-year-old's disappearance. The spaniel named Willow appeared bone dry when spotted close to where Nicola went missing. After noticing Willow roaming loose along the river, the passer-by, who wished to remain anonymous, also found her mobile phone on a bench. The woman said, "I saw the dog, I recognised it, but I suddenly couldn't think whose dog it was." But that's a little bit different than what was reported a day later in Lancs Live. Nicola Bulley was laughing and joking just minutes before she vanished, as dog found bone dry next to river. Nicola Bulley was seen laughing and joking moments before she vanished by a Lancashire river, a worried friend said. The 45-year-old disappeared while out on a dog walk last Friday after dropping her children at school, so we know that was at 8:40. And she briefly spoke to someone, I believe, at the school. According to a villager, Nicola's Springer Spaniel Willow was found bone dry next to a stretch of river wire where the mum of two's phone was found after she disappeared while out on a walk. The friend, who wishes to stay anonymous, told the Mirror she has spoken to a pair who believe they were the last people to see Nicola before she went missing. She said they say she was laughing and joking as she went by. So was it a couple who saw her at 9:10? Because we now know that this is approximately 9:10 that she was seen on the upper field. She went on to say 2 other dog walkers later came across her phone, so 2 other people. So this is a friend of Nicola's talking to the media. She went on to say 2 other dog walkers later came across her phone and recognised the screensaver photo. She said they were unable to unlock the phone and contacted a friend who then called the school where Nicola had dropped her 2 children off. Partner Paul Ansell was contacted and raced to the scene from the family home 3 miles away in Inskip before calling the police. And we know from Paul that he called the police on his way. As far as I'm aware, no one called the police until Paul arrived. Well, we know Paul called them. She went on to say the dog walker spotted Willow as she came through a gate onto the towpath, but became suspicious when she saw the harness and lead on the floor. A man then came through behind her with his dog and spotted the phone. So this man who found the phone couldn't have been coming from the upper field because he was coming behind the woman through the gate. So who heard Willow barking? The gent had looked on the floor, and 2 feet from the bench there's a phone, she said. I think she's either been faffing about at the edge of the river because the dog's been smelling fishing bait and she slipped or had a medical episode. A local told Mail Online, I know the woman who found Willow. She said the dog was near the river bank and close to the bench that Nicola's phone was found. Willow was bone dry, so hadn't been in the water, but the dog was in an agitated state. So the earlier reports are saying that Willow was along the riverbank. Now get this. This is why these early reports are really, really important. A business owner who did not wish to be named says she raised the alarm after finding Willow. So we know, allegedly, this was the caravan park owner. She said the phone was found under a tree which had a sign warning of deep water nailed to it. The underwater drop is estimated to be about 14 feet. The underwater drop is estimated to be around 14 feet at the spot at the bench. Now, I've been saying it's about 10 feet from the edge of the bank to the riverbed. So the drop down is 14 feet. 14 feet. So more than the 10 feet that I've been estimating. The woman said, I saw the dog and I recognised it, but I suddenly couldn't think whose dog it was. There was a mobile phone on the bench, and there was also something between the bench and the river. So I think the phone was found on the floor, and then that was put on the bench. So there was something between the bench and the river. So I went and looked, and it was a dog harness. She said the dog looked worried, and after speaking to her daughter-in-law, was told it belonged to Nicola. Her dad was in the media at the time, saying there was no sign of a slip or falling in. So our thought was, has someone got her? And that's the majority of people who believe Nicola was abducted. But if she fell off the bank, it's a 14 feet drop. She wouldn't leave slip marks. It's a sheer drop. It's like a mini cliff. So why did she drop her phone near the tree and then the dog harness partway down the embankment? And why was Willow running along the riverbank? Why did it take them all that time to raise the alarm? That's the thing I don't understand. That's the big question. That's the big sticking point for me. Why did it take so long to raise the alarm? Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. See you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.